let's lose our minds over the latest edition of this podcast show. I'm your host, Jean-Luc Welch, and I'm able to be joined by a special guest today, Jamal Wright, former point guard for the High Point University Panthers and overseas player. We have royalty in the building today. How do you feel coming on the show, my brother? My brother, how's it feel to be on here?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to do another show with John Luke. Is my guy, great spirit when it comes to sports. I just like talking to you about sports, man. We did this in college multiple times, so it's good to double back and do it again.
Yeah,
let's get into it.
Did have a radio show together in college for those who used to listen back in my adolescent years, and he was a very prominent recurring figure. I'm thankful for him being on. Still as dull as usual. Doesn't get excited for anything. Talks as a cool, calm, collected brother, and I can't stand it because we need him to be amped up. I'm messing. I used to get your chops about this all the time. But again, in spite of his drab demeanor, I'm messing. I'm kidding. But we're going to bring the excitement. We're going to get amped up because of the fact that we have breaking news. My goodness, the Nets and Kevin Durant, or rather Kevin Durant has given the Nets an ultimatum in terms of what they can do with his trade request. He's essentially said it's either choose between me or choose between Steve Nash and General Manager Sean Marks. Mm-hmm. And that's the ultimatum that he gave to Joe Tice. Forget how to say his name. Anyway, we'll call him Joe for now. Joe, the owner of the Nets. Joe the O. Easier way to reference him. Easier way to reference him. Joe the O. Joe the manager. Giving the ultimatum. But within the hour of that ultimatum, Joe went and immediately backed up Sean Marks, Steve Nash, and his coaching staff, saying that I and the rest of the front office stand behind Steve Nash, Sean Marks, and everybody else in management positions. We ain't moving them. We ain't nobody getting shipped out. We ain't choosing between either, because we got our guys. So, from Jamal Wright, I want to hear from you. How do you feel about this whole situation in terms of your reaction to the immediacy of Joe essentially saying, you're not going to muscle us around, Katie?
Well, it kind of starts with the product itself, Kevin Durant. Like, my thoughts on Kevin Durant is really, I got a lot of thoughts when it comes to Kevin Durant and his dramatic, out of nowhere request to get traded a couple months ago, which definitely threw me and a lot of basketball players off, a lot of fans off. But that's a whole nother story we could talk about later. Right now, we're just talking about the incident that just recently happened. Basically, Kevin Durant's really trying to say, pick me or pick, the coaching staff. And I understand Kevin Durant does have that leverage because he is Kevin Durant. He is that type of player that can do that. He's really good at scoring the ball. He's a top 5 player in the league. So, he's using his leverage to get, I don't know exactly what he wants other than the coaching staff that they have right now. Like, he didn't say or name any other coaches that can come in and actually help them, with whatever problems they may have internally as a team, which I feel like is based on the players, solely on the players. It really don't have anything to do with the coaches, but I digress. But right now it's like a game of cat and mouse. Like, Kevin Durant, he said he wants to get traded to a certain team, which it doesn't seem like he's going to get traded to anybody else, but I just feel like he was just trying to test the waters out and shock the world and just basically see like what could happen if he brought that out to the world. But then now it's like, okay, Kevin Durant has outwardly, I'm pretty sure they talked about this in closed doors about how they don't like the coaching staff, whatever. But now it's like out there to the world and to the media that Kevin Durant's not really banging with the coaching staff or the GM and da. And for the GM and basically and the part owners of the team to say, we're standing behind the coaching staff and everybody that Kevin Durant isn't fully comfortable with playing with, it kind of shows that like the Nets believe in their coaching staff and the people that they chose to lead the team. So we're gonna see. Right now it's just it's not. It's just really just chaos and a bunch of noise, but nothing's really about to happen
No, no, no.
as of right now.
I
So
wouldn't say that now. Now, wait a minute. I wouldn't say that nothing is about to happen in terms of with Brooklyn. Because, again, mind you, a lot of stuff can happen, if not now, come the trade deadline in February. Because you got to understand, Kevin Durant, him, Kyrie, the whole point of him coming there was because he got Kyrie and then he got James Harden. Now, James Harden left. Kyrie Irving had an incredibly dramatic season in many people's eyes for the wrong reasons and took away from the team. Then they get knocked out in the playoffs. This, that, and the third all transpire. And now
yeah,
the situation that he was brought into, at least from my perspective, the situation that he wanted to be in and what he signed up for when he came here is not what he's getting and it's not what he's expecting, even though he's with this guy and they do support each other. I get that. But that doesn't change the fact that as a player who's of his caliber, again, if you look at it from his perspective, he's got 4 more years left in his prime, maybe 3, and he signed a 4-year extension. Right now, the Nets aren't made to be successful right now for 4 years down the line. They're just not. I hate to say, if they had James Harden still, hey, okay, cool. He signs the extension. Now you got 4 years of y'all 3 together, most likely, and everything's right with the world. You're in the title contention every year. But because of the drama that happened with Kyrie Irving, that in some people's eyes drove James Harden out of Brooklyn because of the fact that now he saw the writing on the wall in terms of, oh, this team might be a mess. Let me get out of here. Now that he's gone, now that all that they have is Kyrie Irving, who, again, the whole reason why that the front office of the Nets didn't give him a max is because of the fact that I've said this before, he wasn't reliable. Whether it was injury or because of the whole vaccine situation or him just choosing not to play, a plethora of things that happened over the past couple years that he's been on the Nets that have shown the Nets that, hey, you aren't reliable enough for us to give you a 4-year, however many max, however much money deal to just lock you in. All that's transpiring. Kevin Durant saying, okay, let me not waste my time. Let me make sure, while I love Kyrie Irving, and while he's my guy, I got to do what's best for me because I'm still trying to win. And Kevin Durant on the Nets right now won't be able to carry them to a championship, even as presently constructed. Even if Kyrie Irving comes back, or not if, excuse me, let me take that back. When Kyrie Irving comes back, without the mandate in Brooklyn, even though there's still a mandate in Toronto, but again, unless he's playing in Toronto for those couple games, the majority of the season, he's going to be eligible to play every game because the mandate, again, is gone. Even though the way that they had it didn't really make sense.
exactly.
It didn't. I agree to give it to him. It didn't make sense that players that weren't vaccinated from other teams could play, but players on the team that weren't vaccinated couldn't play either. It was a contradiction.
Very contradictory.
Was a contradiction. But again, that wasn't while that was something that was on the Nets and not necessarily on Kyrie in terms of not being able to play, but them allowing other players to play in their own stadium. That was, while there's a contradiction, other things outside of that caused the Nets to be wary. And so now, even with him being able to play actively, what if something else pulls his interest away from the game of basketball and then he says, okay, I need to take time away for whatever the cause may be? That's going to be something that, hey, Kevin Durant's going to be, struggling again. And even if he plays all season long and they get the chemistry and all that stuff, like Kyrie said that they were lacking last season,
Yes.
which is he had.
You think the result of that would be if they played a whole season long, got a chemistry with that specific team?
No, with James Harden or without James?
Without the team they have right now.
Oh no, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Because you got to understand this: the whole reason why that they were so Laugh all you want. It's fine. I'm gonna tell you why. The whole reason why they were so potent to winning championship was because they had that three-headed monster of three of the best. They had legitimately the best on paper, the best offensive talent the NBA had ever seen. Every
So
20,
wait,
go ahead.
okay. So wait. So you saying the Nets wasn't supposed to beat the Boston Celtics this series, the one that they just played?
I said it.
It wasn't.
I didn't. I said they didn't have the talent to. Because I
Saying,
said
were they supposed to beat them this year? This series were they supposed to beat them this year?
if
The
they
one
had,
that they
if it was James Harden on the team?
I don't know. With when they played this series this season, was they supposed to win that series?
No.
Were they the favorites to win that series?
If they were, whoever put them as favorites was wrong. I can speak for myself. I didn't have them. I did not have them winning against Boston, and I'm gonna tell you why. And the whole reason why that they weren't favored, that once James Harden left, for me they dropped out of any consideration for a championship. And next season they won't be any consideration for a championship because of the fact that without James Harden, they couldn't just blow people out the water offensively on a consistent basis. They could forget defense. They didn't need defense. They didn't need coaching because of the fact that you had two players. One is one of the some will argue the greatest scorer the NBA has ever seen in Kevin Durant, as well as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. James Harden, a former MVP, and one of the greatest offensive stretches for a couple seasons that we've seen in history. And then Kyrie Irving is one who people say is one of the most skilled.
I knew you were going to say something crazy.
What do you mean? What did I say? People say he's one of the most skilled. People say he's got one of the deepest bags that the NBA has ever seen from a player.
That's most skilled player in the NBA right now.
Again, the argument of skill, a lot of people have different definitions of. So when I say deepest bag, I mean a moves that he can do from any place on the floor. He's one of the most adaptable players that I've seen.
Skill, yeah.
Phenomenal. Again, phenomenal. So they have all that, but they didn't have any defense whatsoever. Now you lose that. Again, the better of the three, or the top 2 of the 3, in terms of James Harden, he leaves.
Wait. What? You said what?
I said the top 2 of the 3 in James Harden league.
What? Players like
on better, that team? Yes.
You think Kevin Durant, James Harden, then Kyrie Irving?
That's what it was.
How?
Kyrie Irving is an MVP. Kyrie Irving didn't average 36. Kyrie Irving hasn't averaged 36. Kyrie Irving hasn't broken Wilt Chamberlain's record in terms of scoring in the season.
Wait. Is James Harden today? Is he the same player that he was when he won those MVPs?
No, because he was coming off an injury.
Is he better? Is he even better than when he won those MVPs?
If he's fully healthy.
I'm talking about him today when he played in the playoffs this past season. His last games he's played.
Because he was hurt.
This last season, we can be talking about the whole week. I give you the whole catalog of last season. Did he perform anywhere close to what he did as an MVP player?
I'll give it to you when he got traded. When he got traded there, the first instance of him getting traded, he was the better player. When he got injured, Kyrie Irving became the next vocal point. But again, right now, okay. No, I answer your question. Right now, Kyrie Irving is the quote unquote better player because he's healthy. Because he's healthy. No, because he's healthy. Because he's healthy. Don't be stupid. Because he's healthy. That's why he's the better player right now. Because he's fully healthy. Next season, when James Harden fully comes back, fully off of injury, nothing else hindering him. Now, if he doesn't show up now, okay, we got a conversation. But we knew what he was coming into last season. We knew he wasn't fully who he was.
But wasn't Kyrie coming off an injury too?
What did he do? He bounced completely back. And you know this. You know this better than me because you're a player. You understand that injuries affect people differently.
Exactly.
Some people, like LeBron, they can severely roll an ankle, come back in the same game and drop 35. Some people, it takes a full season for them to get right back to where they're supposed to be. Even if they can play on the floor, they're still nagging and lingering in terms of the effects of the injury that while they're on the court, they aren't able to produce. And it's visible. It was visible with James Harden. Kyrie Irving, for a time, it was visible, but he quickly got over that and got back to fully healthy. Got back to, okay, now I can use everything.
I feel like with Kai, he was just coming off just not playing. Like he just wasn't in game shape. Like when he was able to play, when he started actually playing like this past season, like he just wasn't in game shape. He wasn't practicing, or he was practicing with the team, but he wasn't playing. Like everybody was in mid-season shape.
Again,
so that's why it took him a couple of games to look like what he is now. You know,
that's fine, but that doesn't negate the fact that the point still stands, whether it's fatigue or injury, layoff or not. Each of those situations affects a player when they're coming back on the floor differently.
Yeah.
Shoot, even LeBron said in what was that? What's that show? Barbershop Talk, something like that, where everybody's sitting in barbershop chairs. Even he said it takes him about 15 games to get back into basketball shape.
Yeah, you gotta. It's a rhythm. Basketball is a rhythm, but
exactly, that can be broken, whether it's from injury or whether it's from fatigue or whether it's from layoff. Either way, it affects people differently. But the point still stands that coming into that season, when James Harden got with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, it was expected that James Harden was going to be the number 2, out and out, bar none. He was going to be the number 2
due to his past, his due to what he did in the past.
Yes,
his MVP seasons. Yeah, he's expected to be number 2, but what he showed was not number 2. Then it was KD, it was Kyrie, it was James Harden.
And again,
respectfully,
I've already given you the context for why. If next season James Harden comes back and plays fully healthy, there's not going to be an argument as to whether who's the better player. It's going to be James Harden. It's going to be James Harden.
I highly doubt that, but okay.
Hold on. So you mean to tell me that?
I highly doubt that.
So if James Harden averages what he normally averages,
he's not the same player. Like even Joel Embiid said it. He told the press, he said, people expect James Harden to be the same player that he was in Houston. He's not that.
Okay.
he said it.
Okay, and you might be right because his role on the team is different.
His role. No, it's not. It's the point. No. He's just not. I'm trying to tell you from a basketball player's perspective. I see James Harden. Like I used to study his game a lot. He's just not. He's not moving the same way that he used to move at Houston. He's not able to score on that same elite level just based off his body movements as he was in Houston. Houston, he was in a different rhythm. Like things was just moving perfectly. Like he knew where everybody's gonna be at. He knew that he had an advantage with his step back move. Like that, he really low key changed the game for those 1 or 2 seasons. Like he was really like the most dominant scorer in the NBA by far. Now the league has gotten better over time, year by year. The NBA is going to keep getting better and going to see certain ways to stop players to do whatever. Like the league is going to keep getting better year by year. So if you get injured or whatever, like you're kind of deteriorating your progress, and the league is not going to keep getting better. It's going to keep going, and you're like, you was right here with the league, and then the league is still going. You get injured, then you're like this. But the league is like, okay, forget you. Like you better figure it out. And now you trying to play catch up. James Harden right now today is playing catch up. I promise you that. That's why Joel Embiid said that. He said people think he's the same player at Houston. He's not. We're not about to do this. He's still James Harden. He's still gonna get you 20, 21, 20, and 10 easily. Don't
downplay his numbers. At his best, we've seen him give teams 30 to 35.
Yeah, at his best. Yeah, at James Harden's best, he was going crazy. I don't think he's going to get back to that.
And again, even hurt, we were seeing him giving teams 30 and 15, 30 and 8, 25 and 14.
I'll get back to that. I don't think that's all. Okay. He's a good player, but he's not that no more. He ain't gonna be that.
I'll give you this. While he won't be averaging 36,
heck no.
Granted, while he probably won't be averaging 36 points a game, he fully done, he can give you 25 and 9 easily, just on his passing ability and his
Yeah.
ability to get to the hoop. Now,
Yeah.
again, if you want to say his effectiveness has changed, it could be due to the fact that the rules have changed. Thank goodness that now players can't just bake fouls and be afraid to guard them. That can
That's another
be a
thing.
very
Yeah.
valid
That's
reason,
another thing.
which is why I said again, while I give him his props, I never liked James Harden because of his style of play. I don't like Trae Young because of his style of play. I don't. It's because of the fact that it's I don't like foul baiters. I like somebody who's actually able to use their talent and get to and score on an elite level, not trying to bait, but just because of their offensive ability. DeMar DeRozan is a perfect example of a player that everybody overlooked. But then when the rules changed and you couldn't just and people couldn't get away with fouls, all of a sudden you saw him getting shine and him averaging 25, 26 on turnarounds, mid-range buckets. Again, was one of the big reasons him and Zach LaVine, the Bulls got put back on the map.
Yeah.
Were considered a legitimate. They were considered a legitimate title contender for a good chunk of the season.
Yeah.
Because of they were just pure scorers.
Yeah.
Without the help of the rules. And again, while now James Harden's production could be diminished because of that, doesn't negate the fact that when he's able to play at his best, the effect that he has on the team, coupled with another major star, like Joel Embiid, is going to take the brunt of the load.
Yeah,
it's going to be
him a whole season to be with that team. Like, yeah, I feel like this season he's gonna be better if he stays healthy and he plays the whole entire season. He's gonna do really good.
He will.
I mean, you know, injuries going to happen in the NBA. So
again, whether they do or don't, it's up in the air because it's unpredictable. But the point still stands. Back to the original argument. Kyrie Irving was the third best player on that team when he got brought in. And right now, next season, when he's going to be the second best player, they're not going to be able to get past, or they're not going to be able to get to the finals. And they may get stopped at the Western Conference Finals again because of the fact that without substantial defense and currently with a roster that hasn't bolstered that other half of the floor, mind you, they had Jared Allen that could have been a dominant rim protector. Traded him away for Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond has played not great. Yes.
He's played solid. He's good.
No. As a 6'10" athletic person, yes, he gets boards. That's a given. That's a given. But then outside of that and maybe lob threats, he's not a great interior presence on the defensive end.
That's why you got Ben Simmons, though.
Don't use Ben Simmons as a caveat because you saying, oh, he can come back. Oh, when he comes back, he's gonna be something serious. The brother right now, it's taking him this long just to get healthy.
He's playing right now. He played like in the summertime. He's playing basketball right now. He's full 5 playing 5 and 5. Yeah.
Again, getting and playing in the NBA on the floor is going to be different.
I get it, but I'm just saying, like right now,
and we can only base stuff off of the last intense, legitimate situation that he's been in, which was Atlanta.
Yeah, but Atlanta, Ben Simmons,
when he played against Atlanta.
Oh, that was, you know how long that was? Like,
yes. And it's been that long since he's actually played.
Yeah, I get it, but like you gotta understand, now he's in a totally different like situation. He ain't gotta have so much pressure on him.
Hold on, wait,
time out. Really just go out there.
Time out. Wait a minute. If anything, the pressure is still there. It might not be as much pressure.
Not for him, not as an individual, not for him. No, it ain't.
Are you kidding me? This is people are talking about right now. People are talking about right now. This is his last shot potentially to show that he's a valuable asset to any NBA team.
Do you know he Ben Simmons didn't he get a first team all defense? Did he get defensive player of the year award?
No, he didn't. He never got defensive player of the year award. He's been in yes, I'm positive.
Yeah, but he's been a contender for defensive player of the year, right?
He's been in talk for defensive player of the year.
First team all defense for first team defense for.
It was either first or second or third, one of those three. I think it was first one time, and then
Okay,
a
listen.
couple other
So
times.
for his role on the Nets is literally going to be out there to strap up and make like just run and jump and strap up on defense
And
and
once
let KD and Kyrie and then also you can put the ball in his hands and make him just be a disher. He can do that easily, and
once
he doesn't have to worry about like the pressure being on him to do it.
the
Because when
pressure
he
is
was with the
still on him.
Sixers, literally the pressure was
The
no
pressure
when he's
is
with the Sixers, the pressure was no. I'm talking about with the ball. Like if the ball is in his hands with the Nets, I'm telling you, you're gonna see him freely just play because he's not worried about offense. Like like when they're on offense and he has the ball in his hands, he's not gonna be worrying about dang, I gotta get this, I gotta make something happen because something is going to happen with that team is on offense. It's just bound to like Kyrie, KD. These are the top 5 most prolific. These are top 5 best scorers in the NBA. So Ben Simmons is like, okay. And then add on to it, they should have Joe Harris out there too. So like Ben Simmons is, if you really think about it for him, this is a really, really, really good situation for him. Better than the 76ers, bro.
I am not going to say that there is any quote unquote upside to Ben Simmons' game unless he shows it. Because just like you alluded to earlier, when people sit out for a long time, what happens? The NBA moves forward. This is from a player's perspective. NBA moves forward and you get lagged behind. The reason you were already lagging behind in the majority of people's eyes in the NBA. Now you've been on a layoff for 3 years, whether it was because of mental health or because of injury.
3 years.
No, whether it was because of mental health, injury, both, either way. I'm not downplaying the severity, but I am upplaying, and rightfully so, what that does on the impact of a player. For him to get back into the mode of, okay, this is the rhythm that I can play at my best, regardless of whether the situation is better or worse, it's going to take time. And even if him playing at his best
on that team is
still
scary.
still had major plot holes in him being a main guy, and he is going to be the third best player on this team still. And so that's yes he is. If he comes when he comes
does what
around,
he's
he's going to
supposed
be
to
the
do,
third best player.
if he does what he's supposed to do, yeah, yeah.
And so that means he still has to give you 15 and 10. And while that seems like
He ain't got to give
again,
you 15.
while that seems like a phenomenal thing, he had shooters in not Brooklyn, in Philly, and he still wasn't able to do much.
Totally different. No,
And they had a better defense. Now you're given a situation.
Wait. Just because they had shooters in the 76ers, this is like the 76ers was just he had the ball in his hands. They had a big, and then they had shooters surrounding Ben Simmons, so he had to get a ball screen and then figure out who's gonna be open. This now is there's shooters and scorers that teams play boxing 1, boxing 2 on. So there's way more space on the court where he can just run and jump and dunk the ball. Or if they try to stop him from doing that, then he can dish it out to Joe Harris or Kevin Durant or Kyrie to get them easier shots. And then if they get easier shots on him, it's gonna be like, dang, like I got all this space, nobody's around me. I'm about to just go to the hole. And then he can just use his speed to just run. 6'10" athlete. Like this dude is he's a really good piece for that team. I like him for that team.
Okay. What you have to understand when it comes with Ben Simmons, while he is a talent, being 6'10", whatever, quote unquote, the next LeBron, physical attributes only mean but so much. He wasn't able to use those attributes. And you think he's just gonna be able to get to the hole. Mind you, right now, on the Nets, they're still going to back off of him. He still isn't able to actively be the aggressor when it's time for him to be aggressive on the offensive end, to take advantage of those opportunities when either A, he's mismatched, or B, he has an open line. Yes, he's still a passer. Yes, he can be a defender. But the whole reason why I said that he might not be able to reach the same level that he was at even in Philly was because of the fact that 15 and 10 or 15-8, whatever you want to give him for assists, it was still with a full team that had everything. Inside game, outside game, defense, penetration, transition, youth, speed, strength. They had, at one point, they had a team that had all of that. But he still wasn't able to, as the guy, or even when he wasn't the guy.
He was the guy. He was the guy.
No, Joel Embiid became the guy.
It became, it took some time. And Simmons was the guy.
Okay. You're right. He was the number 2. And even on the number 2, when he had everything else around him working for him, still wasn't able to be what they needed. Okay. Now him in a role player position is going to be even more hindered, because what are his talents? He's able to drive to the hoop, facilitate,
strength.
We're not talking about physical attributes. We're talking about what he does with the ball.
No. Talent, and he's a speed, strength goes to his game as a defender.
Yes, and all of that is best used when he has the ball in his hand.
No.
Yes.
All that is best used on defense. That's why he was first team defense.
Sir,
his best attribute make him a great defender. Like his best attribute is speed and height. That's the top 3: strength and height.
Again,
right?
He alone. Listen. Him by himself, and even with Kevin Durant, who is a good defender and can be great once you put when he applies himself. Those 2 factors are not going to be enough to turn that team from one of the worst defensive teams in the entire NBA to
a solid one.
15.
I'll say top. We're gonna see, because I like Simmons as a defender, bro. I like him as a defender.
I do too, but that doesn't change the fact that everything else around him still has to be able to step up, and the pieces that they have right now are only offensive centric. Only offensive. Marcus Smart is a phenomenal defender. 1 defensive player of the year. Say what I want about him. He legitimately, he's a good defender, despite his like I've said on the show in the past, despite his many shortcomings on the offensive end. Him by himself on the Celtics is not what makes them the best defense in the NBA. That's not what made them that. It was everybody. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum to a lesser degree, Al Horford down in the post, Robert Williams down in the post, becoming a perennial defensive star this season. All of that. Now, without Marcus Smart, they still would be a good defensive team. While he is a great asset that further bolsters them up, they still had everything else to make them a great defensive team and a fully complete basketball squad. On the Nets, they are only offensive centric and nothing else. Even with Ben Simmons being the defensive guy, in essence, the defensive anchor, quote unquote, for this team, which is what he's going to be.
Yeah.
Is he going to play in the post, or is he going to play out in the perimeter?
Wherever you want to play, wherever. He's 6'10".
Sir, even whichever spot on the floor he's going to be at, there's going to be a major hindrance on that other side. Because not on the inside.
Yo. Okay,
I'm serious. No, I'm not done. And on top of that, hold on, I'm not finished. On top of that, even with his defensive abilities, on offense, unless he shows that he can actively attack when he needs to attack, which he hasn't, and we've yet to see, teams are going to be able to sag off. Teams are going to be able to double KD or Kyrie and help on the shooters and force him to make a play. And again, him making a play at this point in time is the equivalent of making Patrick Beverley shoot a 3. It's what teams want.
Okay.
It's what teams want. They want him to make a play. Because right now, teams don't think both mentally or physically he has the capabilities to be able to actively, consistently take advantage of the opportunities that's given to him. So they would want him to make a play on the team. Actively. And unless he's playing center, if they run another big man along with Ben Simmons, like Andre Drummond, like a Blake Griffin, those types of players are further going to shrink the floor. So the only way you can play Ben Simmons is at the 5. And while he can play in the post, his game is getting downhill, similar to Giannis. But unlike Giannis, he can't go to the post and just do what he wants. That's not his game. That's not how he plays, despite his physical capabilities. It's not where he's comfortable. So say what you want about his defensive abilities. Unless he shows that he can actively take advantage of mismatches on the perimeter. He's going to be relegated to the post.
He's not gonna have to worry about doing that. He really don't have to do that. He don't have to worry about taking advantage of no mismatch. He don't got to. You got Kyrie, you got Kevin Durant that's gonna do that. If you try to double one of them, that's not good, because you have Ben Simmons who's slashing to the basket and he will dunk on you. You got Joe Harris is spotting up for a 3-ball. You got say you want double KD. That's pretty stupid. You got Kyrie. You got Kyrie, and you got Ben Simmons. You got Harris. You got Blake Griffin, who's a solid piece. You got Andre Drummond, but that's a good big. Like who else they got on their team? That's really it, to be honest. But like Ben Simmons isn't a liability on offense on that specific team. No, he's not. Because the pressure's not on him. No, he's not, yo. He's not. I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Off ball, what does he do? What? No.
Think about it.
That's what he's going to be.
I'm gonna tell you why.
That's what he's going to be. He's going to be a player.
I'm gonna tell you why. Listen. So off ball. Remember, the Nets have the top 2 best one-on-one players in the NBA.
Yes.
You know what that means, right?
Yes.
Double teams will be coming. Double teams will be coming. Triple teams will be coming.
Yep.
If you double team or triple team KD or Kyrie, say you double team Kyrie, you have 2 6'11", 6'10", Kevin Durant who can slash or just catch and shoot, and Ben Simmons who will slash and will dunk on you. Like, you gotta understand, you can't double team neither of them, because Ben Simmons is okay. You know, a perfect example of what Ben Simmons is going to be, but just a better player of it. Bruce Brown. He's going to be Bruce Brown, but a better, taller, bigger version of him. Just waiting for a cut or a slash to put the ball in the net. But rather than a floater, it's going to be a dunk. It's going to be a dunk easily every time.
A better version of Bruce Brown isn't good. You understand that, right? And Bruce, and at minimum, hold on, and at minimum, Bruce Brown could at least hit a 3 once in a while and spread the floor.
He didn't have to, but he didn't have to. He scored without making threes. You know what he did? Just wait. He was waiting for a cut, waiting for a slash, putting the ball on the floater. That's all he was doing. He's playing a 4-man, for real. Ben Simmons is going to be that, but a better defender. And he's not floating. He's dunking on you. He's going to dunk that ball every time. It's a lot of alley-oops.
My confidence in Ben Simmons is not his ability, because I know what he can do and is capable of. My lack of confidence in Ben Simmons is not in his ability, but it is in his inability to capitalize on the opportunities given, based on the last that we've seen of him, and his reluctancy to come out. Again, I'm just saying, that's the question. It's a valid question to have, and it's a valid question to have until he shows differently next season. If he proves, like I've said this countless times on the show, if I get proved wrong, I say what a player has become, and I praise them for it. I don't ever say that somebody can only be what they are. That's stupid to think nobody can evolve. But the question becomes their willingness to evolve and show their evolution to be fruitful to whatever situation that they're in. That is a valid question to have with any player, and it's especially valid with Ben Simmons based on the track record that we've seen him up until this point in time. That's why I have full right and in full capacity to be skeptical of what his role can be, because we're talking about the what ifs and the what he can do and what he should bring. What he should bring and what he actively does bring is incredibly different. Again, I go back to Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart should be a valuable 3-and-D guy. Be able to knock down open three-pointers and score, and be the best defensive player on the team, perimeter-wise. However, him as a player, while he ticks one of those boxes, the other half of that box, he completely null and voids the defensive aspect. I've said both coming up to
their Marcus Smart was an offensive liability.
If you listen, for those who are listening, go back and watch my last episodes on the Welch Report. When I covered them from the Heat all the way to every game of the NBA Finals, my consistent gripe with Marcus Smart was the fact that while you do everything great defensively, the problem is you consistently shoot yourself and whatever progress you make on the defensive end in the foot with your offensive play, whether it was a dumb turnover, whether it was a stupid shot in traffic, whether it was missing open threes, whether it was shooting 30% from three while you're taking 4 threes a game. That's your role and what you're called on to do. You're completely negating one half of that. And so any turnover that you get when we hit you in the corner, when we put you on a drive, when you're supposed to have a mismatch and you have an open lane, you don't hit. In fact, you're more than likely, I'm more likely to, if I'm a coach of Steve Kerr, I'm telling somebody, go on and run back instead of be ready to defend if Marcus Smart is actively looking for a shot. Because one, that's what the defense wants, and two, that's what more likely than not, based on his production in that playoff series, he was not producing on the offensive end like he was called on to do. He wasn't.
Wasn't it game 2 or game 1? Dude, what?
Game two, they blew out the Warriors.
He was cashing out.
That was one game. He didn't do that for the rest of the series.
They only played 5 games.
Bruce Brown, as you brought up, Bruce Brown, who's a good player, an average player, once had a career high, I believe, either season high or career high of 25 points in the game at one point in time.
How much did he average? But yo, he's a good basketball player.
I think he averaged below 10. No, he's worse than Marcus Smart. No. He's worse than Marcus Smart. He's worse than Marcus Smart.
I know he didn't average below 10. I know he didn't average below 10 for a fact. Look it up real quick.
Okay. Then I'll say this: if he averaged more than 10, and Marcus Smart about average maybe 14, 13 on the low end, 12. If Marcus Smart, who is a valuable asset for that team, in again a greater role than Bruce Brown, but still similar in terms of 3-and-D. You're supposed to be able to hit the shot when you open, be one of our best perimeter defenders. If you're averaging similar to what Bruce Brown is doing, and he's a worse offensive player than you are, that should tell you how bad of a season relative to what his importance to the team was that Marcus Smart had, not only throughout the season, but in the playoffs. Do you understand this man only shot 1% better from 3 when he got to the postseason, as well as shot worse once he got to the finals? Do you get that? Do you understand that?
It is bad. For his role, that is bad. Yeah, for his role, that's bad.
So that's what I'm saying. Going back to Ben Simmons, and last time we're going to touch on this, with Ben Simmons, while we know what he can do, and while we know what his role is going to be, or rather, there's many options for what his role could be. But the guaranteed option, the concrete, he's going to be the third best option, and he's going to be somebody that is going to have less responsibility. That's understood. That doesn't change the fact that his ability to produce within his newfound role is going to be pivotal. And whether or not he can actively be called upon to do what he's going to be called to do, because again, it's up in the air right now Because one, we don't know his health fully, and we don't know, two, what role they're going to put him in. Regardless of that, the fact still stands, if he can produce to a high level in his limited capacity, it's a question, and a valid question based on his past track record.
Yeah.
And so it is legitimate based on the way the team is constructed right now, the personnel that they have, the coaching, or in many people's eyes, like Kevin Durant, the lack thereof that they have in terms of to make adjustments and put people where they need to be. It's a valid concern to question whether Ben Simmons is actually going to be the piece that either A is serviceable to good, or B, which is the best option, the piece that turns this franchise into a legitimate contender. Both of those at this point in time are astronomical in terms of if they can be achieved. And so that's why I'm not going to sit here and say and just tout up Ben Simmons for what his ability can be when I know what his production is on the floor. At this point in time, if he changes and shows he's better, then he's better. What else is there to say but the truth? But right now, the question of the truth should be questioned. And that's what I'm going to do. Whether you like it or anybody else likes it. Call it overblown or not, but that's just the fact of the matter. We don't know what he's going to bring. We don't know how he's going to play. We don't know what role he's going to be in. And we don't know how the rest of the team is going to be able to adapt to what he's going to bring to the floor, which is while he has defense, while he has perimeter play, while he can get to the hoop. The caveat is, one, the mental aspect is still in question. Two, how healthy is he really once he fully gets into basketball shape? And three, is his gravity, or rather lack thereof, on the offensive end going to hurt their opportunity to be a dominantly offensive-focused squad? Because teams will sag off severely. And even when he tries to get to the hoop, there's going to be bodies in the paint. Because unless he's playing center, they may have him and another big man outside of Kevin Durant playing on the floor at the same time. And the reason why it worked when James Harden, Kyrie, and KD was there is because of the fact that while they only had one big man, they had three dominant scorers. Now they only have two. And as in two that you have to worry about. The others were make sure he doesn't have a lane to just catch and shoot, like Joe Harris or like Bruce Brown. And even Bruce Brown was way below that level in terms of shooting ability. And so again, his gravity, or lack of gravity rather, is going to be a major concern, coupled with everything else that I previously said. That's why Ben Simmons, for me, is somebody that I'm not going to view it and say, oh, he's going to turn his career around, or oh, he's going to be able to live back up to what he used to be in Philly, just in a more confined role, but still incredibly elite. I give you the defense, but that's not enough. Just like I say with anybody, like I say with Devin Booker, who's an offensive juggernaut. On defense, he's a bum. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Absolute bum. On defense, he is the liability on that squad. He is the biggest liability. Yes, he is. On their starting five. On their starting five. Chris Paul, Malik Bridges, Jay Crowder.
Chris Paul is the
No, he's not. Don't do that. Don't be stupid.
Everybody knew it too. Just nobody talking about it.
Don't do that. No. Chris Paul has been one of the more elite defenders. Chris Paul's always been considered elite. He's been shown that he's elite. The whole Devin Booker was getting switched on consistently. Consistently on defense.
Let's do this, okay? Who was being attacked the most the last playoffs that they played? Who was being attacked the most?
It was between Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Chris Paul yes it was because Devin Booker's a bum when it comes to defense. Everybody's saying he's the next Kobe. Forget that. That noise is stupid. That's absolutely ridiculous to say that he's the next Kobe when he can't defend high no hair on anybody on the defensive end. On anybody. If you know basketball, you know he's a bum defender. You know, he's covered up by everybody else on that squad, like Malik Bridges, like Jay Crowder, like DeAndre Ayton, like Chris Paul, who's able to actually play on-ball defense despite his size. We know this. We know this. If you want to say that Luka took advantage of CP3, it's because Luka is a 6
It wasn't
foot.
just Luka. It wasn't just Luka. It wasn't just Luka.
You want to say what? You want to say Jalen Brunson?
He was flying Chris Paul. He was flying Chris Paul. They literally kept attacking Chris Paul. They kept giving the ball to Jalen Brunson on the right elbow, left elbow, and it was 1-on-1. Every time it was going directly.
You know this. That Devin Booker is okay. Fine. Is Devin Booker a worse defender than Chris Paul? Is Devin Booker a worse defender than Chris Paul? It's a simple
yes. No.
Okay.
No.
So Devin Booker's he's not a better defender than Chris Paul. Is he a better defender than Malik Bridges?
No. I'm not saying he's not a I will take Devin Booker as a defender over Chris Paul right now in the NBA. Yes, any day.
Oh my God.
Any day.
Oh my God.
Taller, more agile, more quicker, longer, can guard when needed. I'm taking him. Chris Paul can't. Name me a point. Okay, let's do this. Name me a point guard Chris Paul can guard right now.
Actively.
Name me a point guard he can guard right now.
In terms of he knows what he's doing.
Starting point guard he can guard right now. Name me one.
I would put in terms of defensive point guards. Outside of June Holiday.
Who can he guard?
I'm telling you. Outside of, again, listen to what I'm about to say. Don't interrupt because you got to listen to the full statement. Outside of June Holiday, outside of Marcus Smart, and outside of, who's another? Actually, I don't think there's another point guard that's on his level in terms of defense. Legitimately. Outside of those two, outside of those two players, I would take Chris Paul over any other player to guard any other point guard in the league right now. Excuse me. Over any other PG, I would take Chris Paul to guard outside of those two. Anybody else in the league right now? Steph Curry, anybody.
Why couldn't he guard Jalen Brunson?
Again,
that's not even a top point guard in the league. He's nowhere near a top point guard in the league.
Like I said in a previous argument regarding Ben Simmons, one bad series does not dictate the man's full potential. And you know this. One of the biggest reasons why the Suns are where they are right now is because of the fact that when Chris Paul got on the scene.
That's not the debate that's going on right now. That's not what's going on right now. We're talking about Chris Paul as a defender guarding other point guards in the NBA.
Yes, he can guard other. I'm not saying he's going to guard Jalen Brunson. Here's the thing. You're comparing. When you say play defense, you want somebody to only hold somebody to 10 to 15. And again, right now with today's game, that's impossible. Giannis is one of the best defenders. Giannis is arguably, actually not even arguably. Giannis is the best defender. Giannis is the best player in the NBA today. Giannis is one of the best defenders in the NBA. That's a given. That's a given. Kawhi Leonard, same thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that when LeBron put 35 on Kawhi's head when they were healthy. The season that he was healthy. You can't say when KD dropped 30 on Kawhi that Kawhi wasn't playing good defense.
This is what I'm saying. I'm not looking at the defense as holding a 35-point score to 25 or to 20 or like it's not that. I look at it like this. This is a great example. Jason Tatum versus Kevin Durant in the Boston versus Nets playoff series. Jason Tatum was frying Kevin Durant and getting stops on Kevin Durant, making him turn the ball over at crucial times, making KD not looking at Kevin Durant at all.
The stops were a team effort. If you saw their scheme, you saw it.
I'm saying, it was multiple, but Jason Tatum was primarily on Kevin Durant.
Yeah, you're right. He did his role.
Marcus Smart had Kyrie basically, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but mostly Jason Tatum had Kevin Durant. Jason Tatum
made KD look really, really bad out there. Really bad out there. On offense, not on defense, but on offense. That's what I'm saying as a defender. Chris Paul, I'm not saying you're not about to. It's hard to stop any NBA player. NBA player come off the bench. It's hard to stop him too. One, due to the rules. Two, these dudes are good. These are NBA players, bro. If you're in the NBA, you're good. No matter what. No matter what.
You're right. You're right. But hold on. Before you say it, make sure you caveat. While again, any NBA player can beat just about anybody else, regardless of what level that they're in, because they're in the NBA. But when you're talking about on the same playing field, yes, there is a big difference, and people can. Yes, bench players can definitely get locked up because they're not on the tier of a starter or a star or a superstar. So yeah.
It's like Lou Will, like you feel me, Jordan Clarkson, Jordan Poole. Like we can go down the line. Like there's a lot of bench players that are good, but I'm just saying, for you to be isolated on defense continuously in a playoff series, which is multiple games, it's 7. They played 7 games. So, and this is the best of the best. This is to go to the finals. This is when you're supposed to be at your best. And for you to be isolated continuously, and not just being isolated, but they are the opposite team is actually getting progressional, like they're scoring on you consistently. Like this, like I can compare Chris Paul to Steph Curry when it comes to defense. Steph Curry gets isolated a lot too, because teams know he does get isolated a lot because teams know Stephen Curry on that specific team, he is a. Oh, okay. I'm just looking at your face. That's all. But Steph Curry on that specific team for the Warriors is their weakest link on defense. And if you make Stephen Curry work a lot on defense, then that's going to hinder him on offense over time. If you keep making him work, foul, all this stuff on defense, then overtime on offense is going to make him more tired over time because he has to guard each possession. But as you've seen in the finals, as you've seen over time, Stephen Curry has gotten better defensively, to the point where you can't just isolate them and you're going to score every single time, or you're going to get a positive result every single time. Chris Paul, this past series, yo, it was really bad. It was really, really bad, to the point it's like, yo, like the Mavericks clearly saw that like Chris Paul can't guard Brunson. Chris Paul can't guard Doncic. Let's use that every time for us to win. And it worked. It worked.
Again, like I previously said, one series does not dictate what a player's full capacity is as a talent. Okay. And on the defensive end, the fact that you compared Steph and Chris Paul on defense is utterly ridiculous. I will even though I think you're absolutely wrong, I will give you that Chris Paul, for the sake of argument, I'll give you that he wasn't a great on-ball defender. Just for the sake of argument. It's not true, but I'll give you it. Just to point out.
True.
No, just to point out everything else that man does on defense, like calling out what the players are going to be, understanding who's cutting and who's not, off-ball ability, be able to cut off lanes so that people can't make passes, the ability to tell his teammates where he wants to go. He is the control center.
Basketball IQ is great. I'm not lacking his basketball IQ. It's great. That's IQ. That's not just
because right now you're saying, again, when I say Devin Booker is the worst defender on that team, and is a bum defender, it's because of the fact that outside of any physical capabilities, one, he can't even use that, and then two, he's a terrible on-ball defender. And then on any other facet of defense, he can't do anything either. He can't cut off passing lanes. He's not able to read what the defense is going to do. He isn't able to react like you would expect a player of his caliber to react to when somebody's cutting, or when a player is developing, or when he's trying to rotate. He doesn't do that. Chris Paul does all of those things, even if you want to take away his on-ball ability. So again, there is nothing that not Draymond Green. There's nothing that Devin Booker does that Chris Paul doesn't do at a higher level on defense in any shape, way, or capacity. And there's nothing that Devin Booker does against anybody else outside of maybe bench players on his squad that is in any level of capacity to be relevant on the defensive end. It's no way. At minimum, If Chris Paul can't block a shot, you at least know how crafty he is, and you know he'll strip the ball. He'll make you. He'll draw an offensive foul on you.
I got
He
you.
will.
Like
He
I
will.
told you earlier,
He
the
will
league is
be able to
getting
make.
better, bro. The
He
league
will.
is getting better. It's
The
not.
league.
It's
The league
not
is
about
getting.
to just steal
The
the
league.
ball.
Okay. The league is
You
getting
can't tell
better,
me
and
the
he's
point guard he can just steal the ball from no more.
the league is getting better, and he's still able to find ways to be effective on the defensive end. Devin Booker, on the other hand, has not been able to do any of that, and he's supposed to be at the upper echelon of the evolution of the game. So what does that say?
As an offensive
What does that say?
An offensive player.
No, as a player, as a player.
No, as an
No, as a player. I'm talking about I'm not talking about him on one facet. When I talk about a player, I talk about a player in totality. Again, we compare him to Kobe. So what the word's gonna happen? I think
But nobody compares. They compare his scoring ability to Kobe's scoring ability. They don't compare.
If you say he's the next Kobe,
Nobody says. I don't say he's next Kobe. I don't say that. I just like his scoring ability compared to Kobe's scoring ability. It's some comparison there. Buddy.
No, the only thing that's comparable is turnarounds.
Scoring. Scoring. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Scoring ability.
No.
Same thing.
Scoring ability and using the same moves are two different things. I'll use boxing for an example. George Foreman had an incredible right hand. Deontay Wilder has an incredible right hand. Anybody who knows boxing would never make themselves or disrespect George Foreman to ever say that Deontay Wilder fights like George Foreman because of that one aspect of his fighting style.
What is Devin Booker's favorite shot?
Yes, the turnaround.
Like style of play.
Yeah,
no. What is his favorite shot? What is the Booker's consistent shot?
I'm sorry. He loves to take mid-range buckets.
Thank you. So, who did that? Who was the perfectionist in that?
Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Those two.
Okay, yeah, those two. Thank you. That's all. That's the comparison. So, scoring ability. They like to shoot the same shots. They shoot the same shots consistently. Kobe done it longer at a high level. Yes. Devin Booker seems to getting to that point. We will see. There's more time left. That's it.
Devin Booker's he's never getting to that point.
He may not. But there's been spurts that we have seen that he looked like Kobe here and there. That's it. That's all we're saying. That's all. Just like Kyrie. Kyrie, we've seen spurts here and there that he looked like Kobe. That's it. We're not saying Kyrie's Kobe. We're not saying he will be Kobe. Just there's spurts. That's it. That's all.
Again, I'm speaking on the majority of what, not you, but other people in the NBA media consistently say, and it messes up fans because now they equate somebody playing, they equate somebody playing like somebody else to them being as good as somebody else, or rather incredibly close to being on the skill level of somebody else. That's not how it works. And if people don't understand that, we're going to see a generation of NBA fans that's going to mess up everybody's legacy. All because somebody does a tween cross, next thing you know, oh my gosh, they're top 5 in the NBA. It's not how stuff works. It's not how it works. And oh gosh, it scares me. But again, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this whole situation with Kyrie and excuse me, not Kyrie, KD in Brooklyn in terms of what Ben Simmons is going to do. I don't think KD's going to get traded. I don't think Kyrie Irving's going to get traded. I don't think they're getting to the finals. I don't think that they're going to be able to actually make it out the Western Conference Finals with how the roster is currently constructed. If they make changes and are able to flip players, like if they're able to flip Andre Drummond for some other pieces.
I think they should keep him. I like him, bro.
I don't. Right now,
whole season too.
He again, as we're winding down, he's still valuable to some places. He can bring some key people that can make that team, because now they're not just an offense. They can't be only offensive centric with the way that the roster is constructed right now. Mm-hmm. It's just impossible because they don't have the luxury of having a 3-headed isolation machine. They just don't. Mm-hmm. 2 people in isolation. The reason why the 3-headed isolation machine was so feared is because it had never been seen before, except for in the Olympics. When all the best players, or an all-star game, when all the best scorers were on the same squad. Now you had that with James Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Now that you don't have that, and there's only a dual isolation threat, you're looking at a similar situation with Dame and CJ McCollum, while at an infinitely higher level.
Yeah.
That style of basketball doesn't win. So now they're forced to have to look at getting more well-rounded pieces. So if they do, and I think flipping somebody like Andre Drummond for, again, a lesser center, but better perimeter defensive pieces that can at least come off the bench or can flip interchangeably when, let's say, a team gets on a run or somebody else get tired. Now you're not just looking at, okay, we got scrubs that we can just do whatever we want with. We at least got to somewhat have a wall to be able to stifle some of the bleeding so that when our offense, when our starters get back fully, okay, we can still, either A, harp on the success that we had previously or, have a chance to regroup without having a big run scored on us consistently. And bad teams looking like they can conquer the world because they're just able to score. Even though they're not on our level in terms of talent, the way that they're made up, they're better equipped to take us on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think needs to be done with them specifically. But sadly, we have to end it because, again, that 2-hour episode was an anomaly. We ain't trying to run that long. Unless I get sponsored, hey. Unless I get some money coming my way, absolutely. But we gonna turn it down for the time being. This has been another edition of the Welch Report. Jamal, love for you to come on. Hopefully you'll be able to come on again. This has been phenomenal. Again, thank you for coming on. Great guest. Check them out on Instagram. What's your social tag so people can know where to follow you? They want to keep up with your rise.
Follow me on Instagram at JustCallMalgo, JustCallMalgoat.
Yeah.
Follow me.
Well, there you go. Well, you heard it here first. Follow Jamal Wright. Keep up with me. We're going to talk about the NBA, NFL. We're going to have an episode on the NFL and boxing. The fights are coming up soon. Terrence Book Crawford is nearing completion for their deal. That's going to be major too. We're going to talk and have a bunch of fun. Peace and love. We out.